Greetings everyone, this is Andrew from mobileburn.com and I'm taking a look at the Samsung Galaxy Note 2. This is the T-Mobile variant, but it's available on all major carriers in the US, AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint, and US Cellular as well. The Galaxy Note 2 uses Android 4.1 Jelly Bean with Samsung's TouchWiz user experience. Now, in some cases, the results aren't as good as you would experience with standard Android. For instance, the calendar app, it feels overdone. It doesn't look very appealing. It's just a little jarring from what you would expect. So that's not the greatest application. But one thing that you will enjoy is that Samsung has on the Galaxy Note 2, they have like a little two-pane multi-window system going on. So when I tap on the messaging app, okay, here's a message that I'm drafting to send to someone. The interesting thing is when I turn it to the left, it switches into a two-pane window. So on the left side, it has a list of all the messages that I could send. And if this weren't a draft, it was an actual sent message or received message. On the right-hand side, it would show me the actual message or preview. I could tap it to finish this or respond or do something else. When you're sending a message, you can actually add images, video, audio, and other things to send in like an MMS. You can also send calendar invitations, things from S Note directly. It's very convenient and very nice to have. This same type of setup goes with the email application, not the Gmail, but the alternative email app. When you turn it to the left, you have the same view where you can tap on it and you can see a list of all the other options of what you can see. This works with select apps built in by Samsung, and it's very convenient and very useful to have. Other communication options include Chat On, which is basically Samsung's group messaging client. You can send photos and free text messages to other people. It doesn't use up any of your monthly texting allowance. It goes through your data. There are also some benefits courtesy of T-Mobile. For instance, you've got this mobile hotspot application right here, which allows the Galaxy Note 2 to serve as a Wi-Fi hotspot for multiple computers or other phones. There's also a T-Mobile My Account Manager. When you click into that, it shows you how many minutes you've used of your plan, how much data you've used. You can change settings, notifications, all types of things. There's also a Name ID app. When you click on that, it allows you to get caller ID information and look up people. And there's a visual voicemail app that allows you to see a list of who left voicemail messages, and an app for streaming TV. There's also the S Voice, courtesy of Samsung, which is their take on Siri. There's some problems with it. It doesn't always recognize what you're saying. It's not always very fast, but you can try a few things. I'm going to do a quick test right now. Who is the Queen of England? Hi, Galaxy. Who is the Queen of England? Okay, you see, it's not the greatest solution out there, but you can access other ways of getting voice search and finding information by holding down on the home button. It brings up your app switching, so you can disable apps or switch to another app if you so choose. But you might also notice that it has the Google Now button right there. This is the way you access Google Now on the Galaxy Note 2. So from there, I can find another options. I can see sports updates, of course, see schedules for your teams, weather. If you improve your location, you'll get recommendations for nearby places. But if you want to search, Google. Who is the Queen of England? And at the moment, I'm on a mobile connection rather than Wi-Fi, so excuse that. But basically, you see, I get a more detailed explanation. Instead of just Elizabeth II, I get a photo of the Queen of England. I get her birth date, her net worth. A Google search is below. And if I want, I can tap on this card to get even more information. So Google Now might be a more contextual and more rewarding search that you can pursue. Now, when I hold down again, you'll see two other options. I can press the delete button, which will close all tasks other than the one you're in at that moment. I was in Google, so I'd save that. And if I tap this button on the left, it shows me the running applications, but of course I closed all of them, so there are none at the moment. I can also, this brings me into my app view, so I can see the apps that I've downloaded. I can uninstall them from here. I can also see my RAM manager to see how much memory is being used up at any given time. And I can check my storage to make sure that I have enough room for my files, photos, videos, and all of that stuff. The Galaxy Note 2 has an 8 megapixel camera on the back with LED flash, and the camera is very impressive. It actually has autofocus. It has a lot of settings that you can use to take advantage of the app. When you go into the camera application, it's running right now, you'll see the typical Samsung UI. If you're familiar with the Galaxy S3 at all, you'll notice that it has a lot of settings that are very nice to have. Once you go into settings, you can tweak it. It has something called burst shot, where let me see if I can get something to take a picture of really quick. Here's a pencil. All right, when I have burst shot on, as long as you hold down on the camera button, it's going to take as many photos as you want. So as I move around, you see I'm holding down. It can take up to 20 photos, and it's processing. When I tap the button right here, it cycles through all of the photos that I just took right now, and it shows all of them. If I want, I can delete the ones that I think are no good. I can have one that I think is really nice, and then I say, you know what, I want to share this to another app. When you tap Share Via, it provides a long list of applications you can share to. Upload to Dropbox, email it, bring it into Instagram, or tweet it out, send it to Picasa, any type of things that you want. That's using the standard Android intent, and it's very good. Okay, let's go back to look at the camera app a little more. Aside from burst mode, there's another setting that you can play with. You can tap this button, and you can choose between single shot, best photo, and best face. Best face is interesting because there are times when you take group photos where one person might have a strange appearance in a particular shot while the rest of the group looks good. But if you go to another photo, that person might have a good facial expression, but someone else will be messed up. So the way this works is you take best face and you try to take multiple pictures at one time, and it will seek out the best photo of each person. So I don't have any people to test it with me right now, but just imagine there's 5 people right here. If one person made a funny face in one particular photo, the Galaxy Note 2 would automatically crop out that person's face and insert that person's face from another image to make the best possible composite of all of the facial expressions in the multiple photos that you took. And of course, you can take panorama. You can do HDR, which is a really nice setting on this phone. I love the way that this phone takes HDR photos. It basically takes a very bright setting, a very low setting, and then it mixes 3 layers together to get the best composite that it can. There's also share shot, which is not really a photo setting, but it allows you to connect with other Galaxy devices nearby. So you can share all of the images that I take. So if I press OK, and then it's going to ask me to search for other Galaxies. So if someone with the Galaxy S3 or Galaxy Note is nearby, we can all get on the same network and pair with our phones through Wi-Fi Direct. And any photo that I take will appear on that person's phone as well. So rather than me having to share individually, say, oh, I like that photo, send it to me, he's already going to have it on his phone, and he can choose to have it automatically and do what he wants with it. By the way, have I mentioned that the Galaxy Note 2 is big? Well, of course I have, because it's an inescapable fact. And that's kind of the great thing about this device, and as well as the bad thing about this. Because it's so big, it's very hard to envision someone using this on a day-to-day basis, especially if there's someone who uses their phone one-handed a lot. It's going to be difficult because, consider, again, I have very large hands, and this is still a big phone even for me. It fits comfortably in my pocket. It's thin, so it's not obscenely big, but again, when you compare it to other phones, you see how much it towers over them, and that's kind of like a benefit and a hindrance at the same time. It's a benefit because if you read some particular apps, for instance, when reading Flipboard on this device, it's absolutely great because it's so big. The photos really look amazing when you're on here. It has a very nice screen. It displays a lot more text. The same thing happens when I'm reading another app that I frequent, like Pulse. You have a lot of space. The things scale nicely. Articles render well. And when you watch YouTube and you have a 5.5 inch screen to watch rather than a 4.3 or smaller, it does come in handy and it's very useful. At the same time, it's kind of hard sometimes to walk around with this, especially when you put this up to your phone to make a phone call. It feels ridiculous. It kind of looks ridiculous. The phone quality is good. So what it really boils down to is, can you handle a phone of this magnitude, of this size? If the answer is yes, if you're someone with big hands or you're someone who's really attracted to the stylus or the S Pen, I say this phone might actually be just what you're looking for. I felt very comfortable using the S Pen. I like the little air view gimmicks. I like being able to jot things down and actually make plans. I'm someone who's not very organized, and a lot of times I don't have an imagination that allows me to see things. But when I can point something out and say this on a screen, that's incredibly useful to me. When I can close this and show you some other things that I did, like when I mentioned how I was visioning how I would decorate a living room, and you're able to choose and plot a course that you're going to do, that's pretty exciting and pretty beneficial to you. It has plenty of templates when you're using the S Note. The S Note itself is very light, very easy to hold. It has this button right here that when you hold down on it, it adds additional features. So if I want to see a little preview, I can hold that. So yes, there are some problems with this phone because it's so big, but the reward and the payout might make it worth it to pursue. Now, I'm someone who, at the end of the day, I thought if there was a Galaxy S3 size phone with an S Pen, I think that would be the perfect balance. This is a little bigger, a little harder to manage, but it is manageable. So what it comes down to is, if you're someone who needs to have a phone that's light and is very powerful, this is gonna make the grade. If you're someone who needs to have a phone that's small enough for you to use one hand comfortably on a regular basis, this might be a little more of a challenge for you. But overall, I'd say that the Galaxy Note 2 is a very good phone, and it's going to be a very good phone on multiple carriers. I have the T-Mobile variant right here, like I mentioned, but it's also available at AT&T, Sprint, Verizon, and US Cellular. Prices may vary depending on carrier, but at the moment, the T-Mobile version is selling for $360 online. You might find it cheaper at other carriers or at other third-party sellers. But in the meantime, this is Andrew from mobileburn.com. Hope you enjoyed the video, and this has been the Samsung Galaxy Note 2 review.